How's it? I'm Junior Kekuewa Jr. Welcome to the podcast that answers the question. Wait, no more question. Sorry. Okay, mistake. Rewind. All right. No, I have this my media director. We call him media marketing director because sometimes he does media for us and sometimes he does the marketing, right? But mostly he's involved in the marketing. And I really gotta thank you, Jake. Thank you very much. Gotta thank this guy because he has totally turned this podcast around. Now we're going to be we had to redo the podcast. Okay, so we had to go through the episodes again. So on today's podcast, okay, I ran from teaching, and that's the that's the podcast today. But before that, we got to have the attitude of gratitude always. And we got to really thank the people of Wisconsin because guess what? They're the number one state right now. So I did not really think that this would go the way it went, right? But we actually picked up in a state that was like virtually nowhere on our map anyway. I mean, I'm not, Wisconsin was always there, right? A great state, the cheeseheads, right? So if you're from Wisconsin, thank you very much. We really appreciate you listening. But the states were California was number 1, Texas was number 2, and then Hawaii was number 3, and it kind of went, down. Rhode Island was up there, and Wisconsin came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, Wisconsin is the number 1 state, and then California, and then Texas, and then Hawaii. So Hawaii's moved down to number 4. So if you are in Hawaii, because there are, the people in Hawaii that started listening to us, as a matter of fact, were from Wailuku, Maui. So Wailuku, we salute you in the highest. Thank you for starting. It shows us like the towns. So we can see, Wailuku, Kahului's on the map now, but Wailuku was the first in all of Hawaii, like when we did the first year of podcasting. So I want to say thank you. Now, I got to admit, when somebody told me a long time ago, this guy told me a long time ago, he said, hey, maybe you should try podcasting. Now, I was working with this guy on Instagram. And we were, doing really, really well until I screwed up the account. And then what happened was I was running these cooking videos, for the chicks, right? Because they used to love it. And I did not know that these were copyrighted, videos. And I got flagged for copyrights. And I did not understand what it was that I was doing wrong, right? And so they took my account down. So that was the end of that. But anyway, and we worked on other things on Instagram and marketing and that kind of thing. And he said, you know what? You should do one of two things. You should do a YouTube show or you should do a podcast. Now, when he said podcast, I was like, podcast, because to me, that was a stretch for me, right? And so anyway, I let it go. And then I worked with this comedian. I didn't really work with him, like I hung out with him for a little while on his show. And he told me, because we did a podcast as a part of his show. And so after the show, we used to do the podcast. And he said, bro, you should do a podcast. He goes, my friends in LA, they're making big money doing podcasts. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, so because he said it, right, I started thinking about it. And I started putting some, thought into it, right? And pretty soon I'm like, okay. Because you see, there's been times in my life where I've had to put thought into something and go, all right, you know what? Let's go to the bank. Let's take out money. Let's throw down whatever's on red and spin the wheel. And it's worked every time. Not in the way that I thought, okay? Which is part of today's podcast, but it did turn out. It did work. Okay. So now here's the thing, right? When I started doing the podcast, I did it wrong. So I went down to the radio station, right? I took out money. I went down, I paid this program director, could you please, put this together for me and stuff. I brought in Instagram influencers. We were doing interviews. We were doing all that stuff, right? And then a very humbling point, because I get humbled all the time, right? And now, I work in the digital world, so it's extremely humbling. So I got pulled on the side, right? And this guy goes, what you're actually doing. Now this is one of those scientific dudes, right? And he goes, techies, right? He's a techie. He goes, what you're actually doing is you're doing a radio streaming program. He goes, you're not doing podcasting. And I'm like, wow, because this happened to me, earlier in my life, right? And people had to correct, like, oh no, you're not doing. There's this guy when I was doing radio. I remember there's this guy. He was just, I don't know if he was trying to teach us a lesson or he's trying to make us feel bad or just kind of jerking our chain or whatever. But I was on this, I was auditioning on this show, and he came up and he stood behind me, and I thought I was doing good, right? I thought I was doing great. I mean, because when you're like in your early 20s, right? You think you're the man. You think you got it all figured out. And he's standing behind me, had this low voice, and he goes, "Hey man, what are you doing? Radio?" And I looked up at him because he was standing right behind me. And I looked up and I go, "Yeah." He goes, "No, you're not." So there's been times in my life, is what I'm saying, Hawaiians, okay? Now, if you're listening in Wisconsin, you are an honorary Hawaiian right now. We have people listening across the world, 53 countries and 42 states. And so when you're listening, you are an honorary Hawaiian. So when I say Hawaiians, I'm talking to you. Okay, basically you. All right, and thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. So anyway, so I was doing it wrong. So we go, okay, we got to scrap that. So we scrapped it, right? And but this guy, the program director guy, and I just saw him in a shopping center, and he was nice enough to help me. And here's the thing, right? When you're involved in entertainment, be it stage, radio, television, whatever, there are not very many people who are willing to help, okay? Because everybody's protecting their own thingy and whatever. And so the people that have helped me, and there's been many, have helped me greatly. Like, and some of them didn't even know it. There was these guys that put me on their TV shows, and then there's this guy put me on his radio show. This guy put me in his, so this one guy put me in bathrooms all over the island, right? And there's another guy put posters for me all over the island. So there's a lot of good people, but you know what? You have to look for the good people, okay? Because the naysayers, the guys that tell you can't do stuff and all of that, okay, don't pay attention to that. Just move past it, okay? The haters, you have to praise God for your haters. Your haters are what make you. If people are not talking about you, you are not relevant. You are nothing. You are forgotten, and you are like 6 steps behind everything, right? And the key to all of this, the key to, the law of attraction, this is a law of attraction podcast, is to be one step ahead. And to be one step ahead is to be in what they call flow state. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk about how I ran from teaching. Okay, so I went through that one lesson, right? The podcasting, right? The second time we did it, right? I thought I was doing good. We got out to 28 countries or something. Then we had to scrap that because we were doing it wrong. And we were also simultaneously building the YouTube site, right? So we scrapped that. We orphaned a bunch of people. If you're from YouTube and you got orphaned, I'm sorry. It wasn't intentional. But it's just the way it was a learning process. Now, see, I didn't want to take the time to go to podcasting school, right? Or take a course from somebody. Okay, this is how you podcast. This is what you do. No, I hired a guy. I hired a media director. I was like, okay, right, here we go. Let's do this, right? And he was unclear on what I wanted. And here's another lesson, right? This is a side lesson, Hawaiian. Don't micromanage. I had a website one time, and the guy asked me, right? He goes, "How do you want this website built?" And I said, "Oh, I want it like this, like this, like this." He built it perfect, just the way I asked, okay? Years later, somebody goes, "Who built your website?" And I'm like, "Oh, a friend of mine, so-and-so, and been doing, in fact, I still do business with him till today. He's my IT guy." And so I said, "Well, this guy," he goes, he designed that site for you? And I said, well, I told him what I wanted. He did it exactly so the lesson was, right? Long story short, don't micromanage. Okay, don't micromanage. Because the guy goes, "Oh, that happened," right? And then I was like, oh, crap. Okay. So I had to go back, right? I had to, we had to go back, rebuild, redo, all of that. So don't micromanage. Yeah, it's better to go to a web designer and go, can we just get a website? And what are you doing? Oh, we're doing this area of business, or we're doing this, whatever, designing, whatever. And they'll just build it. and chances are you'll have something very much more efficient and up to date than if you go, oh, okay, I want this like this and like that, and like, okay. So that's a lesson too. Oh, a lot of lessons on this show, a lot of lessons. All right, and I had to go through these things, and I'm sharing this, not for you guys that are 40 that already got this stuff down. According to our stats, there's a lot of 25 plus year olds, and you guys in your 20s, you guys, just knowing that this is why I say these things, so that, to leave some value behind for your life, so you can steer clear of stuff like this, right? Don't make these mistakes. And this is not an entrepreneurial podcast or anything like that, but I'm just saying that, I have manifested many things in my life, and I was the kind of kid, because of my ADHD, right? I have, we said this on my story, right? And so every once in a while now I repeat it. I'm more comfortable repeating it now because I have nothing to lose. I have, I don't have to kowtow to anybody or any industry or any producers or any, like that, right? Or any hotel owners or anything, But what I'm saying is, when you, get to a certain point where, like I had ADHD. So what I have is combined presentation. Okay. And it means that you have both types of ADD. Okay. ADHD, which is the hyperactive thing. And then the ADD, which is, you can't focus. I mean, it's just a mess when you have both. Let me tell you. So anyway, right. Because of that, there were tons of things I wanted to do as a kid. I want to do this. I want to do that. I saw this guy, and I got to know him, and he was a ventriloquist. And I go, I want to be a ventriloquist. Yeah, I want to do that. That's cool. And I did it. And I was standing there with a dummy one night on stage, which wasn't the first time I stood with a dummy on stage, but that's not a podcast, otherwise. But I was standing there with a dummy on stage one night, and I'm going, I can't believe I'm doing this. And sometimes I watch the video. Of me doing that, right? Because this guy was nice enough to send his camera crew down and film my Waikiki show, right? And so I watch this stuff, and I watch it, and I go, wow, I can't believe I did that. Like that to me, that's kind of spooky, because I was just fantasizing about it like in ninth grade. In ninth grade, it was a fantasy to me. It was like, yeah, one day I'll like do that. So here's a side story before we get into the teaching thing. The side story to this is I went so many years without a dummy, right? I was looking for a dummy. When I went to the mainland ones, and I was looking at toy stores for dummies, but they only had the toy dummies, right? I never knew where do I get it's called a ventriloquian figure is what it's called, right? And I'm like, where am I going to get this ventriloquist dummy? Like, I need one, right? Now I have two. One's in the garage because, and I'm like, where do I get this? Pretty soon, like, the years go by, right? YouTube comes online, eBay comes online, and I had this conversation with this guy in a club, and we're sitting down, and I told him, I said, I do ventriloquism. I learned how. This guy taught me. This guy who used to do ventriloquism. It was a very famous guy in Hawaii. And he taught me how to do it when we were in high school. He came to my high school for a year. And so I know how to do it. I just don't have a dummy. He goes, dude, go on eBay. They have everything on eBay. And so I went on eBay, and I found this dummy. It was perfect. And that's the dummy that I used in the show, and I named it after my grandfather, because I love my grandfather. My grandfather was so cool. And so I named the dummy Kyoki. My grandfather's name was George. So all of you people outside of Hawaii, Kyoki is the Hawaiian name for George. It's Keoki. Okay, that's how you say it. Anyway, but so many things like that happened because I was like, I want to do that. 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 And guess what happened when I was an adult? I got to do that and that and that. And like it all manifested out. Okay. So this is the podcast where we teach you how to go about this stuff. And what it is the subconscious mind. It's not witchcraft. It's not voodoo. It's not none of that. It's your subconscious mind. Now, here's today's podcast. I ran from teaching, okay? So I am the product or the expression of two teachers, okay? And my dad, my biological dad, was he had a master's. He could teach in colleges. He could teach anywhere he wanted to teach. He was qualified, sideways. And so he actually, was all about like teaching me things, right? And so my mom was also a teacher. They met in college. They had me up there. So I wasn't born in Hawaii. I was born in Denver. And so, my mom was an elementary school teacher. That was her specialty. So it was K through 6, elementary school. And so my mom started teaching me all kinds of stuff when I was young. So by the time I got to school, I was like, I've had it with education. I was like so over it. Now, certain kids that have certain kind of parents, right? You guys are exposed to the industries they're in. I know some guys that their parents, the father was a fireman. They know all about being a fireman. They know all about, because they see it. They live with it, right? Dad comes home, talks about it, whatever. So, so they have a great insight into it. Well, when you're the kid of a teacher, they try to teach you, right? You're the guinea pig. And so I had to learn all this stuff, right? Learn. Because I was an only child, my mom gave me this Children Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, and now the children's version was a little bit different, because I used to go look in the main one, the black and white version, no pictures, like just a few, black pictures or black or whatever images, but not anything nice, right? The children's book encyclopedia, oh my God, like pictures, everything, all the species of sharks, until today I can tell you what kind of sharks they are when I look at it. I'm cruising with one of my chicks and we see something and I go, oh, you know what that is? And then, what kind of butterfly that is? That's and I could tell her, right? And then she's like, oh, what do you do with all this information? I go, well, it's just floating around in my head. It's actually, useless really for me. It's just like when I'm having a conversation, yeah, I can speak on it, but that's about it. So this was because there was pictures in there. So I'm, ADHD, right? The words, like reading up on it was not the thing. It was like looking at the pictures and okay, what is the name and getting the name and that's about it. And some things I went into detail. The things that interest me, I just like aced it out, right? But when I got to a certain age, my mother was talking to me. My mom wanted me to be an attorney. And it was because she went to an astrologer. This guy was an astrologer. He was real big as an astrologer here when I was a kid in Hawaii. And so he said, well, he'll be a good cop or he'll, be a good attorney. And my mom, of course, she didn't want me to be a cop because, bullets flying and, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I look at the police now and I really feel for them because like they really do not know, more so now than ever before if they're going to go home or not. And that's another podcast, Hawaiians. That's another, like what's happening to our country is another podcast. But, so I, was, kind of encouraged, kind of persuaded, I want to say, to go into law, right? And I was not interested because to me, law was about reading and writing like constantly every day. And because of my ADHD, I could not read well. Okay, because I could read for a little while, right? I read for a little while, and then after that, my brain is like somewhere else. I'm thinking about something else, right? So, anyway, and audiobooks did not exist at the time, and YouTube did not exist at the time. But I had this teacher in high school that was amazing. He's no longer with us, but he was amazing. And he would lecture like a college class. So he carried out, he did his class like a college class. And I got straight A's in his class, right? Because we could engage in discussion on whatever topic we were doing. And so I got straight A's and, no problem. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And everybody else was like, when I asked a question, everybody else was like, bro, shut up already. He couldn't talk 20 more minutes, but that's how I learned, right? And then, when the grading day came, he goes, we have 2 A's, right? And one of them would be so-and-so, usually a girl, right? Because the girls are always like, and number 2, Jr. And he wrote them on the blackboard, right? And I was like, yeah. And all these guys are like, they're flipping me off. They're, whatever, right? I try to keep the podcast clean, always. So anyway, right? This kind of, goes on. And pretty soon my mom changes her tune. And she starts telling me, this was like into my 20s when I was angry at the world, rebellious, and I'm doing all kinds of, oh man, dude, I can't even tell you. We was smoking weed, was doing all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff. And I was hanging out with some very dangerous people. And then I also got to hang out with some really amazing people, right? And so in my life, I was like, wow, I manifested all of this because of, first of all, what I wanted to become. And then it was more like the anger manifested into that, running with the gang, running with the boys kind of thing, right? And I, went through all of that. But eventually my mom was like, you really should teach. You're a natural teacher. And my mom always said, the quote that she said was, teaching is inbred. She said that. And I'll never forget that, because we were having a discussion at lunch one day. We were at this fancy hotel. She always stays at these fancy hotels and stuff. And this was probably when I was maybe around 22 or 23, I think. We were at this very ritzy hotel place in a place they call Waikiki over here in Hawaii. And so and she said, no, you really should look into teaching. Well, that was the furthest, I was like, huh? I mean, I had the same reaction when about, 25 years ago or something. My mom goes, you should come into real estate with me. You should do real estate with me, And I was like, what? I was like, I'm living my dreams right now. Excuse me. I'm doing shows. I'm doing radio. I'm doing all this entertainment stuff. I'm making monkey, right? Making monkey for a living. And I was also doing business. I was a consultant. I was doing, living all my dreams. And I was like, no, I am not dropping this stuff for real estate. I'm sorry. But anyway, but that was kind of like that for me. It was kind of like foreign. It was kind of like, what? Okay. So, I got to tell you guys, right now, the law of attraction, right? What you manifest, what you think about, you manifest, So my mom planted that thought in my head and I started thinking about it. Now, move fast forward till I was in my later 20s, right? I think 27. I started taking my training in classical music. And so I went through my training and I had a private teacher. My mom was nice enough to do that for me. Anything in education, so because she's an educator. So boom, there we go. And I do my classical music training. And then I ended up in a situation where I was in a radio station that was a cultural radio station, and it was a Filipino radio station, right? And I meet this girl, and and she's very, very talented. And actually, this lady who was the head of the club talked to me first, and I met this girl. She goes, "Oh, you got to see her sing," and whatever. And she sang, and I said, "You know what? I can teach you." And this is what. Okay, now the trap was already set, Hawaiians, right? And then now I'm stepping into the trap, right? So I started teaching. Well, that became the beginnings of what is today Voice Master Vocal Development. And you can search it online. It's all over the place. But that turned into 33 years of teaching, right? Now, I did everything I could not to teach. Okay, so the reason why the school came to be was more so because I wanted something for my best friend to do who was blind, and this other girl that lived with us, right? But she didn't live with us right away. It was me and him, and I just broke up with the girl I was engaged to for 8 years, and so I needed something for him to do. And everything kind of, the universe works in a strange way, or God works in a strange way, or whatever you believe. Jesus Christ, Allah, all of that works in a strange way, because things began to line up, right? Because I was in this job where I was doing production radio and television audio production for a living, and I was getting very dissatisfied with not just the environment. The environment was actually minor for me. It was the work, because here's the thing. I went into radio because I thought, right, I had this bright idea, like if I get into radio, I can do my music, I can do my shows, ventriloquist dummy, and play the guitar, and play the ukulele, do all this, all that stuff, right? Play the drums one number, we do all this stuff. And so I go along this very difficult route of $5 an hour working in radio, right? Then I get to the point where now I'm at the right radio station, but it's not gonna pan out. Like I tried to meet these guys. I tried to befriend these people that were in the record company, because where I was like a hub for like everything. I mean, anybody who was anybody went through that radio station. And I'm not just talking about musical artists. I'm talking about producers. I'm talking about people that did video, people that did acting, people that did like everything. They all went through this one group of radio stations, right? So I was there in the hub, and that's where I made the biggest amount of money I think I ever made, as far as doing a 9-to-5 kind of job, because I had these side jobs that paid. I mean, gosh, I would walk in, lunch, on my lunch hour, I could make like 3 spots, so 300. So if it's a television spot, like $275 a spot, something like that, a little less than $300, and do 2 of them on my lunch hour, right? And this happened like several times during the week sometimes, especially during like political season and stuff like that. But anyway, and it's not meant to be a flex, it's just to give you a picture. But I got stuck in that, and there was this invisible wall between, what I was doing and where I wanted to go. And where I wanted to go was like right there. It was like right there. It would pass me every day. I would see this guy who owned the record company, right? And of course I was friendly with the guy and, try to talk to the guy. But, at that time I had nothing. I had no music available. I had no, so we built this studio in my house and we started making music. I was, doing all this stuff. And I thought, okay, I'm in the right place. All I got to do is, whatever, just to get in the music industry, because I wanted to do, my shows. And I thought, this is the place, right? Wrong. Okay, it wasn't the place. There was this invisible curtain, man. I swear, it was kind of like being in a bakery. Like, outside the bakery where you could smell the pastry, right? And the window's right there, and you look in and you don't have any money and you're hungry. And I don't know if you guys ever went through that. I went through that, okay? And you look through the window and you went, wow, I can almost taste it, but you can't have it. It's not yours, right? You can't buy it. You can't, whatever, right? Okay, same thing. It was right there, like every day. And the guys, in the in the radio station and stuff, they didn't have the contacts. They were radio guys, and I was one of those guys, right? I belonged to that, that group of people. And the entertainment guys were in and out, all the celebrities, the stars, whatever. Really nice people, these musicians, very good. I didn't really agree with some of the things I saw from the administrative end of the record industry kind of thing. But that's where I wanted to go, right? And it was right there. Anyway, so pretty soon I get tired of that. I start praying to God, like every night, every day when I went home. Please let me do my music. Please let me do my music. So that's all I had in my head, right? Well, it manifested in a series of events. Okay, first I resigned from the radio station, right? Then this other guy hired me, got a better radio gig, right? But then I discovered that on that station group, right, there was no entertainment thing, right? I mean, no entertainment connections. Everything was done differently. It was done very differently. It wasn't the same kind of thing. But there were other benefits. There were other things that happened, right? And then all of a sudden, one day, right, I get pulled in to substitute for this guy, and all of a sudden, boom! By the third day, right, it was like God talking to me, like, boy, like foghorn leghorn. I'll say, boy, you better start singing for your life, boy. And so and then I started doing that, right? And everything, as they say, the rest is history. But that was the key that allowed me to do the music. That was the key that brought the consulting company that built a lot of the things that we built, right? Now, it wasn't, some people are in radio and they enjoy whatever success they have in radio, but they don't, how can I say, they don't turn it into anything else. And I think recently on another podcast, I mentioned that I saw these people that got let go after years and years and years and years and years, dedicating their lives to radio, to being celebrities. And they were very popular and they were very much celebrities and people loved these guys, right? But then when the radio stations dropped them, they had nothing. There was nothing there. I mean, they had them, right, themselves, and they could turn it into something. But my question was always like, well, if God gives you lemons, right, why wouldn't you make lemonade? And that's how I saw it anyway. That's just for me. So we started doing stuff on the side. But the teaching part, right, I ran from it as hard as I could. Because my thing was like, no entertainment. When I first set up the school and stuff, right, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this part-time. And at least Brother Wayne has something to do now, and then pretty soon, this girl came with us, and then she, was involved, and okay, so you're going to take care of the office, and then you over there doing this, me over here, I'm doing this, and I'll go run errands, do meetings, whatever. And then we started building. So we had a production company, we had, the entertainment stuff, right? And as hard as I pushed for the entertainment, right, nothing went any further than, where I pushed it to. Because, I figure, well, okay, if I push a little bit, right, then God gonna come and the magic door is gonna open to go sign one contract. Here we go. Boom. Sign your name and you're in. And we're gonna do a Waikiki show. That's not how it happened. I had to buy the Waikiki show. And we didn't care. We didn't care because we had the money. And to us, that was money well spent because that was our dream. Now, there was one guy along the way, I remember, but this was after the Waikiki show because I was talking about Las Vegas at that point. And this guy goes, how much would you pay how much are you willing to, this is the exact quote, how much are you willing to pay for your dream, Junior? Right? And I had to think, I was kind of taken back by that question a little bit, right? And I had to think about it. But you know what? And I would tell you, and this is the law of attraction, okay? What you put out, you get back, okay? There is a price for everything you do. Everything. I don't care. I don't care if you want to be the best accountant, if you want to be the best car mechanic, if you want to be the best whatever it is, you're going to have to put up with some crap. It could be financial that you got to pay. That could be your price. You could, like I see a lot of entertainers and stuff, right? So they make a little bit of money, right? The producers make a big bunch of money, right? And that's the way it goes because the producers put up the money. So they make the money, right? So maybe that's your price. So maybe the price to, fame or stardom, maybe it's a little money. Sometimes maybe it's something you got to go through mentally. Sometimes there's some excruciating mental pain. Sometimes sometimes it's your family. Sometimes you get divorced, you lose your family. I didn't have that, but some people went through that, So there's a price for everything. And I don't care, what it is. It doesn't matter, but there's a price. And there's always a price for progress. There's always a price for getting to the next level. And some people are happy with staying at, their 9 to 5 or, they're just happy having a nice mellow life and stuff like that, But that didn't really appeal to me because I had goals. And my goals started like when I was young, 11, 10, I think 10. When I found out I could do voices and stuff and copy the TV, that kind of thing. But the teaching thing came about the same time as I resigned. I resigned from the radio station. And I said, okay, well, let's set up the teaching thing because I was already teaching on the weekends. And ever since I helped this girl with her Filipino project and this Filipino club, I had been teaching on the weekends. Because, once I helped that one girl, everybody was like, oh, can you teach my daughter? Oh, can you teach so-and-so? And people just started coming, right? And so the secret to that is, okay, don't be a talker, just be a doer, and everything will fall into place. Okay, so a lot of people talk about stuff, right? So a dream, or let's say vision without action is hallucination. That's my quote. I put it on my Facebook. And but that's true. You can think about something forever. If you never take action on it, or if you never do anything about it, it stays in your head, right? And you die with it. Okay. And all that information that I have from the encyclopedias. Okay. So knowledge, right? Knowledge is nothing unless you apply it. Okay. Now, if you apply your knowledge, I can't apply that knowledge. I'm not a botanist. I'm not a horticulturist. I'm not an oceanographer. I'm none of those things. Right. But I have the information in my head. Right. So it's useless. It's useless. Right. But it was something I was attracted to. I lived a great deal of years in the encyclopedias that my mom got me. And I always, I don't know. I just thought it was a thing to know stuff. But if you cannot apply what you know, it's useless. Okay. It serves no purpose. So anyway, so the school happened, right? So I had been teaching on the weekends for years. And then the opportunity came to, okay, resign from the radio station. I'm going to teach full time. And I had this other radio station thing part-time on the weekends. And I was the station voice and, whatever. And so we started the school, right? In the meantime, we still had the production company. We're doing jingles for people. We're doing, we had a phone service where we did the answering for a couple of hotels and a couple of businesses and stuff. So we were kind of moving in that direction with that. But the school, right? Like I kept going, no, let's just do minimal. So I never really put any great energy into it until one day where we decided to get a professional space. Okay, and that's a whole nother podcast, because that's very interesting the way that unfolded. But along the way and up until this point, Hawaiians, nothing happened the way I planned. Absolutely nothing. And I don't plan anymore. All I do is I focus on the final outcome. That's it. I don't plan. Okay, because God can take you anywhere. The universe, God, whatever you call it, right? Your higher self, higher power can take you anywhere to get there. And so anyway, but nothing happened the way I thought. So here we were teaching over here, and then I was over there doing the on hold business, as it was called back in the day, for the phone service. I was doing all this stuff, right? Production, writing jingles, writing music, and then we were recording our own music. And then pretty soon we recorded this comedy album that actually got what they call a Hoku Award in Hawaii, and that's like the Academy Award of excellence in entertainment, really. And so this guy catapults to number one comedian in Hawaii off of the project that we did in my house, which I was actually I did a little bit of writing on it. I did the production on it, did the engineering on it, and my best friend Wayne, who was blind, did all the music on it, music effects, all of that. He did all of that. And so we were doing these types of projects. And but the thing about me was like, I want to do my show. Because I was raised around a show for 4 years. Well, not raised, but yeah, I was very young, right out of high school, right? 4 years, I was around the biggest show in Hawaii, right? Like very often, like 3-4 times a week, sometimes every night. It just depended. I had jobs here and there, security guard jobs, that kind of thing. But anyway, we got to the point where the school was starting to materialize. And in one way, I didn't even see it. You can't even see stuff sometimes until it creeps up on you. And then when it creeps up on you and it goes, boom, gotcha. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's how Voice Master happened. And so the first year we decided to run an ad, right? And the ad was for voice. So I was thinking, like, how what are we going to call this thing? And so a bunch of titles, a bunch of names came to my head, right? And then I thought of this cartoon I saw when I was a kid. It was He-Man. And the villain was the Beastmaster, right? Beastmaster. So I go, Beastmaster? Voice Master. There you go, right? And I remember my attorney friend that I used to have an office in this attorney's office while I was working for this radio station that they never knew about. Because I mean, you can't say stuff like this in front of certain people, right? It's like you can't go, oh, I need to go up to my 27th floor office that overlooks the mountains right now, and you cannot do that. Like on my lunch hour, I got to go up there and put some work in. I mean, I got to go there after work and put some work in. No, they never saw that, and I never mentioned it because, you just can't. Like right now, our offices are in Pauahi Tower, which is a pretty prestigious kind of downtown location, right? And I don't go around telling people that. I don't go around flashing pictures of it. I don't go around, doing that stuff. I flash other stuff, entertainment stuff and comedy stuff and whatever, bits and pieces of information on informational things and whatever. But anyway, so that happened, right? And this business that we were trying to develop, it never materialized, but these things all simultaneously started to happen at the same time, and I ended up creating Voice Master. And my attorney friend that I was working with, was telling me like, wow, that's a really good name. Yeah, that's a great name. So I went with it, right? And we put an ad in the phone book. The next year, there was like 11 people that taught voice. Okay. Now, before we went in the phone book, there was only 2. Okay, my teacher and another teacher who taught this famous Hawaiian singer, right? And then everybody wanted to sound like him, so she started creating clones, and they all sounded like him. There was several in a couple different bands that sounded just like him. Because the secret is, there's no big secret, but if it is a secret or whatever, it's that with classical music form, you can make people sound pretty much similar to each other. Pretty much. Only the timbre of their voice. So if they're a little bit close in timbre, you can clone people that way. And we don't do that or anything, but I'm just saying it's possible. So I still kind of put teaching back burner. Okay. So I did a couple of days, couple of days here, a couple of days there, but focused on the music. And I ran from teaching like as hard as I could. Like my focus was, okay, let's go pursue the show. Let's go do this. Let's go, entertainment. In the meantime, the road show happened. When I got on this radio show, and this is the manifestation part. Now, I'm talking about these thoughts, these focused on the main idea or the end result, the final result. Like, what does it look like, right? So I had this idea in my head. And so pretty soon, this idea starts to pan out. Now, everything kind of works in concert in the universe, everything. And so this guy puts me on his radio show, boom, everything starts going, right? People start inviting me to, sing for their baby parties and weddings and whatever. So that turns into a party business unexpectedly. I did not expect that. I didn't plan it. I didn't even want it. I didn't want it, but I wanted to perform. And that became my show. And we called it the Junior Kekuewa Junior Road Show, right? And the road show was a show you took on the road. I remember going to this guy, this radio guy who he still has the number 1 show in Hawaii. And he was so nice to me. He used to put me on his Saturday show. And every time I would say road show to him, right? This is off mic and whatever, like when he was just talking casually to me, he goes, nobody knows what a road show is. But by that time, right? By the time he was telling me this stuff, we already made the posters. We made the Facebook page. We did all this stuff. It was too late to turn back, right? So I made a lot of what you would call snap decisions that resulted in the wrong thing, right? Like the website, same thing. So anyway, so he goes, yeah, nobody knows what a road show is. So I said, well, it's a show you take on the road. And we perform wherever you are. or wherever, you're having your party. So we did ballrooms, we did rec centers, we did a couple of parks, quite a few with generators. We did, you name it, we did it. And we were there, doing the show, right? So did I get to do my entertainment? Yeah. Did I get to do it the way I wanted? No. I had to buy that section of it, the Waikiki show. And the road show, the wedding and party business, paid for that, right? Okay, so I was still running from teaching. Run. Well, guess what? The pandemic happened, right? And yeah, all the entertainment fell to the floor. The worst part for me, I think, was seeing people devastated from it. I mean, not just the entertainers, because they were devastated. They didn't have anything to do. They didn't have any work. They didn't have anything else going. That was their bread and butter, right? And they were suffering. But people in general really missed the entertainment. So now what do you have in today's world right now? Well, you have everybody going out doing activities, because everybody's sick and tired of staying at home, right? So I keep running. Finally, my best friend died of cancer 7 years ago. And when it's a little over 7 years. And he died of cancer. And so when that happened, right, I did, I mentioned on the other podcast. So I had to run it out, fulfill all the contracts, everything that we had to do. And then finally, I got to live another dream. So it was kind of ironic that another dream happened after that, because I thought, okay, that was that was it. No, I ended up singing with an orchestra, and then we attempted to sell that. That didn't go so well because Hawaii is about reggae music and Hawaiian music. So if you're doing a Frank Sinatra kind of thing, so we sold it as Junior Live in Las Vegas, like a package show to where they, bring crap tables and stuff, and they have like a Vegas night for people, right? And so we did a little bit of that, but then there was this orchestra thing, so I got to do that. Okay, but this was in my head when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11 years old, watching Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra on TV, right? The Waikiki show happened. I was sitting there in Don Ho's show, just observing and learning everything I could. Eventually, boom, it turned out. It happened, right? And one of the nicest compliments I got from this guy that I did radio with was he goes, that would work in Las Vegas. And then of course, I keep running from teaching, right? The school's already going. We were in our professional space for 24 years. And so that's running, that's going good. Okay. But in the office, right? I'm on my laptop, right? Got an agent in Orlando. And he flew to Vegas and pitched us with a Cirque show, and Dionne Warwick. And I was like, what? I still have the email. I think I'm going to frame that email. It was such a high honor and compliment to be just mentioned in a meeting about those people, like Dionne Warwick and a Cirque show. I was like, whoa. So for me, that was a major head trip. But that didn't pan out because I didn't have any Ticketmaster numbers in North America, right? And so the investors, so these guys, they invest, they put up money, right? Because they want to make money on this stuff. And they go, nah, we can't do it. And, I was good with that. I was like, yep, that's business. And basically, that's what I've been doing for 33 years is a lot of business, like a lot of different stuff. But that's what it boils down to, but the teaching, right? So I run. COVID happens, shuts down everything. And then I have no choice. I was forced to move everything from the physical location online. And when that happened, right, the whole world changed, right? Now it's like, okay, exclusive teaching. I do teaching and marketing, so it's still business, but it's like business and then teaching. And the teaching part has I want to say the benefits, or what I charge for teaching based upon what we did for years, is a huge difference, and then the business part is more, IT stuff, right? But this teaching thing eventually happened. And the bottom line lesson to all of this, right, is that we are expressions of our parents. Okay, we're not reflections of our parents. We are expressions of our parents. So like, I used to see this commercial, right, about a milk truck driver. And he goes, oh, my grandfather drove the milk truck, my dad drove the milk truck, and now I'm driving the milk truck. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, no ambition, this family, right? That was my first impression, okay? And I'm sorry if I offended anybody, right? I know we have a few Hawaii listeners, but I'm just saying that was my first impression, right? But then it started to make sense when this COVID thing happened. And I go, wow, I've been running from this and running from this and running from this. And now it's making more money than when I was at a physical location doing this for years and years and years. And now it's actually, more beneficial for me, right? Because the teacher learns more than the student, really. So, the ironic thing is that, oh, yeah, my guitar playing, best it's ever been. My singing, best it's ever been. Can't use it. And there's no entertainment venue, right? And I'm retired. I am done. I am done with that. But anyway, what I'm saying, right, is that eventually when you let go and you let God, or let's say it another way, when you follow your life path and stop insisting on your own way, because I was insisting. Hawaiians, I was insisting. No, we're going to do entertainment. No, I'm going to sing. No, I'm going to play. No, I'm going to make people laugh. I'm going to do all of that. Maybe that's not what I was put on the planet to do, and I ran like crazy. I avoided it. I pushed it away. I didn't want any part of it. Well, I wanted a little part of it, right? I maintained it. I made sure it was, I even billed my friend as being this, mystical blind guy that was he was a musical genius, definitely. But I also, made him the teaching genius, and people would just come like, oh yeah, we want him to teach me. And I was good with that. I was like, yeah, there you go, boo. You want more, so, but that was, it was a good time. It was a good run, but I learned a huge lesson. And the lesson I learned was, you know what? When you're trying to force things your own way, it never works as good as when you let go and let God and follow your life path. And there's only two things that can prevent that. Fear. Okay, so hesitation's rooted in fear. All the negative emotions are rooted in fear. Okay, and doubt. Doubt is one of the biggest derailers of anything. If you doubt and you fear, okay, that's the two worst things you can do. Because let me tell you, Hawaiians, when you have doubt and you have fear, I'm sorry, Hawaiians, I gotta go. But yeah, doubt and fear will derail you. Other than that, you can manifest just about anything you want. Yep, but if I can, Hawaiians, you can. Okay, trust me. I used to sleep on a sidewalk. Hey, I want to thank our sponsors, Brother Randy and Sister Jerry, over there at Island Club and Spa in Kaka'ako, if you're in Hawaii, and a Voice Master family of service companies, and AFM Hawaii Music, the home of Darren Chinen. Get his music online, and so Hawaiians, okay, just don't take life so seriously. Follow your gifts, follow your intuition, follow that. It will not lead you wrong. Until next time, I'm Junior Kekuewa. Junior saying mahalo and out.